Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever 500 Miles Pit Stop, a shorter episode of the 500 Miles podcast where I will cover one specific topic or interview someone within the racing business. So today, to start this series, we have a pretty special guest joining us as part of this segment. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. Brayton Laster to the show.
Yeah, this is really cool. Thank you for having me on. For those that don't know, hi, I'm Brayton. I race in the ARCA Menards Series now for 5 years. I was full-time last year. It's my only full-time year, and I've been part-time every other year since 2022.
And this year, Brayton, I know you have shifted to a part-time schedule with Wayne Peterson and some other teams like Rise and a new one this coming week at Clubb Racing. Talk a little bit about the shift and why the decision was made to cut down to running part-time.
Last year when we went full-time, we knew it was going to be a struggle, and it was a little bit more of a struggle than we initially thought. I think you hear a lot of people saying that when you don't have a corporate sponsor to kind of foot the bill for the whole year, it's very difficult on a driver that doesn't have a marketing team or anything behind me, or the team doesn't have a marketing team. Wayne's a pretty small team. It's difficult to kind of put every piece together that you need to be as competitive as you want. I I know we're not gonna go out there and win races and dominate, but I'd like to go out there and be competitive to a certain point. And last year, we had very few races where it felt like everything was going right, and we were running to the standard that I felt like we should have been running to. Like we had a good pace, but we just had some a lot of issues that I felt like was coming from, with us trying to run full time and Wayne severely understaffed. When you have such tight turnarounds, I think we had at one point in the year, 6 or 7 races in like a 9 week, 8 or 9 week span. I think it was more than that. It's just hard to properly make sure the cars are ready, properly go set up. So, you run the same shocks and springs, on the car 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row, and by race number 4 or 5, it's like, hey, this is pretty rough, and so we kind of got away from, like I said, I know I'm not gonna go out here and win the races. I'd like to, but I'd much rather just compete in the ARCA Menards Series in general than not at all. And so with us going back to part time, it was, hey, maybe we can allocate our resources a little bit better, try to help out Wayne, try to grow his program, and so far it's been a mixed bag. We've been qualifying really, really well, which last year we sucked at qualifying, and then we would race okay. But this year, like I said, we're qualifying really, really well. But we're having some more mechanical issues where it's setting us back further in the field, and back there, this is a pretty common discussion in the Cup Series this week. Is the dog pound, that fight from 20th to 30th, and ARCA is very much has their own dog pound, and it changes every week, because we only have a handful of full-time drivers and many more full-time teams though, so you kind of know who you're racing every single week, and it changes. And we always want to try to be the best guy in the dog pound. And we like look back at Pocono, look back at Kansas, and we were sitting there racing Takuma at Kansas, who he has an Ilmore in his car, and very nice car, fast track, have a lot of more resources than Wayne, and so we were kind of like the top dog in the dog pound until the shifter broke. At Pocono, kind of a similar story. We qualified 16th out of like 24 cars, which is I wanted to be top 20 towards top 15, and to be right there one spot away from top 15, we were really happy with that, especially Pocono is nothing but motor, so we took SB2s at all those tracks, and then we had a couple tire issues that set us back a couple laps, and like it just you want to try and go out and run as best as you can. And what sucks too, it's kind of like it's a double-edged sword. When you run part-time, you don't have as many opportunities to make those good runs happen.
Yeah.
So when stuff happens, like at Kansas and Chicago and Pocono, um, and you kind of finish more down the running order than you wanted, it really hurts because you don't have as many opportunities. IRP I think was a great example of that, where I felt like it should have been a good
Yeah.
opportunity for me with Rise, and kind of helping them get back going straight. They've had a rough season repairing a lot of equipment and cars and body panels, and they just needed a race where a fender didn't get dented or they didn't have to replace a nose, and Um, that's kind of how that whole deal came together. And I did my job there, making sure the car came home in one piece with no damage. It's just we missed the setup majorly. Had issues in tech. I did last year on track ready for practice, except for one lap, and it's really, for lack of a better term, shat the bed at IRP, and that was probably the roughest race I think I've ever ran in my ARCA career. Just because
Yeah.
we actually had good equipment for once, and we put a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of resources into that effort, and just didn't go the way we wanted.
Yeah, and reuniting with Tim Goulet, you had previously ran a few races with him, especially on the dirt tracks in 2023 and 2024. Like, talk a little bit about reuniting with Tim as part of that Rise team.
Yeah, I loved him. He's like a brother, or he was almost like a father figure to me, and we've tried to help each other out however we can. I've always raced his cars clean, and then I drove for him. I got him his first top 10 as an owner back at Springfield in 2023. Um,
Yeah,
got top 10, I think, at another dirt.
Salem, I think.
Oh
I
yeah, I
think it
want to
was
say Salem.
Salem.
Yes, yep, Salem. I think we did too. So we got him a couple top tens, and those were his only top tens for a long time. And it kind of sucked, because last year he really improved his equipment. He really stepped it up a notch, and I was full time with Wayne, and so I didn't really have an opportunity to kind of go back and forth between cars where I had opportunity in previous seasons, and so it was fun last year getting to see Timberlake grow his operation, and then that Bobby Dale come on as a planned full time driver, and uh, had some sponsorship issues on his end, and wasn't able to quite fulfill his commitment with that team, and Tim called me the week of IRP pretty much. He was like, "Hey, um, can you drive my race car at IRP?" I was like, "Well, I'm kind of already committed to Wayne." And I was in Arkansas actually filming a movie at the time. And so like
Yeah, I
in
saw
the middle
that.
I'm in the middle of Arkansas and like emailing peerlesspump.com, our primary sponsor for IRP, calling Wayne, calling you, everyone I need to call and be like, hey, are you all good for this? And so that was a really cool reunion to go back with Tim and some of those crew guys are the same crew guys as a couple years ago. So get to work with them again was really neat.
Yeah, and but now this week there is a brand new team and a brand new number that you have never ran before. Uh, you did run the team's flagship number in 2022 and 2023 through a partnership with Mullins, but now you are running a different number for them, the 83 this week at Iowa. And this is the start of a three-race deal with Clubb Racing, but my understanding is that this was originally not supposed to be your first race with them. Is that correct?
Yeah, a little bit yes, a little bit no. So how we kind of do our schedule is a little bit different than I feel like most drivers and most teams. And so at the start of the year, I kind of sit down and talk to all of our previous partners from the previous year. I said, hey, what races would you guys like to see us at? And I kind of go through and I figure out where we have funding and where we don't. Because I physically cannot afford to race out of pocket. Like I make you know probably 600-700 bucks a week working here in Indy during the day job. That's enough to keep the bills on, to keep the lights on, keep the bills paid. I can't really allocate much more than that towards racing, or else I'm sleeping in the car. Um, that's why I drive to every race. That's why I try and stay in cheaper motels or hotels if I can. That's why I try and save every dollar that I can and kind of put it towards the ARC operation. And like I have a local track car. It's a 4-cylinder bang banger that
Yeah.
I race that locally just because it's cheaper to run than a late model. And so um, Alex, when we kind of came into the year, Alex and I have been really good friends for the last couple of years. We share a lot. I feel like have the same battles on track. Like we're always next to each other, or at least me in one of his cars.
Yeah.
We always kind of talk throughout the week. Kind of just talk about the state of ARCA, talk about other stuff, and so we've been pretty friends. We're friendly for a couple of years, and he really grew last year going to that 2-car operation. And once again, that guy's on the way, so we didn't get a chance to work with him. And now Alex called me at the end of last year. He goes, "Hey, if you're part time next year, I really want to work with you." And I kind of talked with Wayne at the start of the year. I was like, "Hey, what races would you like me to run?" Like here's a list of races, and one thing Wayne and I think most car owners don't like is a torn up race car. And so Springfield and DeCoin are notorious for tearing up cars. Like even you can do no
Yeah.
wrong. I've destroyed a nose at DeCoin just under caution because there's a stalled car at the bottom and it run you through the mud and destroyed a nose under caution. So I kind of talked to Alex, and we had a great run at Springfield last year. I have a big dirt racing background, and so we
Yeah.
got seventh place lead that finish with Wayne last year. Yeah, I love the dirt tracks, and Alex's cars were actually in front of us for most of that race. He just had there was a lucky time where we got a caution where I was in front of them because they had just pitted. It was a back-to-back caution, so I got the lucky dog instead of Alex's cars. So, that day could have very easily been Joe Cooksey and Alex Clubb getting seventh and eighth, and I would have gotten ninth. So I think he's got great equipment on the dirt tracks. And so I kind of
Yeah.
talked to him, like, hey, let's do the dirt races at least. I'll commit to those, yeah. And I was supposed to be in the 89, and then he had Jeff come on for the full season, and he's like, hey, we can run three cars, which I think this is the first time they've ran three full race cars. And after IRP, I still wasn't committed. I knew I wanted to run Iowa. I had a little bit of funding to go around Iowa, and so you know I was kind of exploring my options. I was talking to Rise, I was talking with Wayne, and I was talking to Alex, and I was kind of trying to see like what would be the best way to go. And some of those doors got shut, and I know Nate's trying to stay full time with the East Series, so I don't want to step on his toes out of respect.
Yeah.
And so I kind of talked to Alex, and like, hey, do you just want to get the party started a couple weeks early? And this is the same card we're running at Springfield and the Coin later this month. So we're kind of able to go out, work out any bugs. If I don't like the way that the seat is sitting. If I don't like the way the steering wheel feels, I'm going over tomorrow actually. At the time of recording this to go through his car and help him get it, you know, comfortable for me to drive. That way we show up to Iowa on Friday. We have no issues. So I'm really excited about getting the partnership started a little bit early. I believe Colby Evans was supposed to be in this car originally at the start of the year. When I talked
Yeah.
to Alex, he mentioned that Colby was going to come on and rerun Iowa, and when I talked to him a couple days ago, because I just still came together pretty quick after IRP. When I talked to him, I said, "Hey, do you want to run a third car for Iowa?" Because we were supposed to anyways, and then Colby didn't get approved or lost his approval. He goes, "So I have a
Yeah.
car here. It's ready to go. It's it's ready to go for the races. And we can just take a couple races or a couple weeks early, and it gives them a chance to kind of have a gap. We're going to run Iowa, week off, Springfield. They run Madison, but I don't think that car is running Madison, so it will have a week off in the DeCoin. So it's a nice little stretch here to kind of get that car fine tuned to get the 83 some points as well for next year.
Yeah, Alex is trying to build that third car up on the owner point side of things, and I mean that's why he brought the 83 out to Chicago to start and park it with Nate. I mean, there's going to be a lot of building and efforts to try to build those owner points because those owner points are can be very precious going into
Oh yeah,
Daytona or even Talladega if it turns out Talladega is going to be like race three again next year. I don't know anything about that, but those owner points are very precious and someone is going to probably want to take them. I mean, Alex had City Garage run the 86 again at Daytona. Like that's one of the reasons why you really got to build up those owner
oh yeah.
points. And beyond that deal with Clubb, I know you had I think one or two more races
Yep.
after that.
Yep,
Uh,
we have Salem and we have Kansas too, tentatively on the schedule, I'd say.
Yeah, and I imagine that that is still being worked out as of now.
For a little bit, we're gonna see how these next couple of races go with Alex and kind of see where he goes. Obviously, the 03 and 86 are priority for full-time cars, and it's very easy to go out here at the dirt races in Iowa and bend a clip or destroy a frame or have to kind of side on a car for a couple weeks. So we'll kind of see where they're at after Springfield and the coin and kind of go from there. I think before we have that discussion.
Yeah, and coming back to Iowa, I know you've run there a few times before. I last year and 2023.
Yep.
I don't remember if you ran in 24. I
I
don't
don't think
think
I
so.
did.
Yeah, but like what makes like Iowa like a track that's like very different and unique to drive?
I kind of like to describe it as a short intermediate. I feel like there's a lot of tracks you go to where it's like that Bristol, Dover, Rockingham. Um, Sorry, Iowa, Phoenix a little bit, but Iowa is just so unique in the fact that it's still kind of got that cookie cutter shape. Where Rockingham's kind of close, but Bristol it's a straight oval. Phoenix, has a dog leg, and so it's the only track we go to. I think that's around 7/8 or a mile that's got that cookie cutter shape, and it's got a ton of bank on the front stretch. We're kind of able to send it in the corners now with the repave, and it's a very unique track. I wish we went to more tracks kind of like those short intermediates, where I don't know exactly what the banking is for Iowa, but I think it's probably one of the more banked short tracks we go to outside of like Bristol and Rockingham.
Yeah. And in terms of those bank tracks, I mean, you also got Salem later in the year.
Yep.
Like that's another big one. Now in terms of like tracks, and I know you're from Indiana and you guys have a lot of short tracks. Like you can pick, I'll let you pick one track you can add to the ARCA schedule. What would you want to race on?
I would like to go to Eldora.
Ooh,
I think which I'm probably the only guy in that boat, but I would love, love, love to see NASCAR return to Eldora or Knoxville.
either or.
I'll take either or.
Yeah, and I actually want to ask about that truck debut because I know you ran at Knoxville in 2022 and with your dirt racing background, like just talk me through maybe how that came together with Josh Rayom.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because that December was a really life-changing kind of month or couple period of months there. I was home from college, Christmas break, my freshman semester at the University of Indianapolis, and uh, we got that deal put together on Christmas weekend with Mullins Racing, go down to Daytona, and then
Talladega.
subsequently Talladega, yeah. Um, and that deal was really really cool. And I wanted to race the truck race at IRP in Abstract Park, my home short track on the truck series and ARCA schedule. Excuse me. And so we talked to Josh between Daytona and Talladega. And Brad Perez had ran Coda for them, so that was kind of the connection there. Brad Perez worked for Mullins, so he was on the Mullins crew. I met Brad at Daytona testing, and so that was kind of the collab there. Blake Lothian, who also tested for Mullins in that Daytona
Yeah, he
too,
did.
drove for Rayum as well. So it's kind of cool to see how many drivers were there testing for Mullins that weekend in 2022, and kind of seeing where they've gone. And so we talked to Josh. It was originally supposed to only be a deal for IRP, and NASCAR came to us like P because I was originally approved for it. I was originally approved for IRP, and I don't think I've ever publicly stated this, so it's going to be a surprise. But I was de-approved. So either they could there was an issue with paperwork and someone approved me and they didn't and they approved me before the committee could actually check. But basically,
That's
Josh got caught.
strange.
Yeah, so Josh basically got a call and was like, "Hey, Brayton can't run IRP unless he runs another race." And I think they tried to justify it that it was the race before or two races before the chase. And I think they looked at the schedule and they didn't realize that. Um, and then they give it a cutoff race, that you have to make a start that year, or you can't race a race in the chase without running a race previously that year as well. And so, um, or the playoffs, I guess is what it was then. So they say he's got to run another short track and look at the schedule. I think the only thing open that Josh had at the time was Knoxville, which I have a dirt racing background. So perfect, let's go do it. Fantastic. So we put everything together in like a 2 week span to go run Knoxville. And kind of same thing, we say, hey, we can use it as a precursor, for IRP at the time. So, Josh Rayham had a very much a rotating group of drivers in the 33 and the 43 that year. And sorry. He's very happy to put me in the 33 for Knoxville. And so we qualified into the race. We ran a great race. I mean, I think we got lapped once in stage one, got a wave around, got back onto the lap. for stage two. Ran most of stage two on the lead lap, and then finally during the final stage, we got lapped 3 or 4 times, I think, for a long green flag run. So I mean, I think I did everything that NASCAR wanted me to. We got 27th. We passed a couple trucks. We had to qualify in because they were still doing heat races.
Yeah.
So I think I sent Norm Benning home, which is kind of sad because I really like Norm. And so we kind of put that whole deal together. It went great, and then NASCAR was like, "Hey, we just don't think we saw enough to really approve him um for the truck race at IRP." I'm like, that kind of sucks. And I haven't back at Truck Series since, which I've now gotten my full approval.
That's
Um,
good.
I can go race Daytona, I can go race full-time trucks next year if I wanted. And I got over 40 ARCA starts, I think, under my belt, at least on the ARCA platform as a whole, and approved for short tracks in the O'Reilly series. So with the goal of running IMS next year, hopefully.
So you have the goal of running Indianapolis in O'Reilly if possible.
Yep, hopefully in the next couple of years. So that's the dream, that's the goal.
Yeah, and as part of that, like because you're only approved for short tracks in O'Reilly, but you're approved everywhere in trucks, like to reach that goal, like or a dream, like is like what exactly would you want to run to get approved for those bigger tracks?
I think running a short track in O'Reilly would carry a lot more weight than like a truck at Atlanta. I mean, I could be wrong. That's the thing about the NASCAR approval process is there's no black and white. It's all kind of a gray area. So you don't know what you have to do to get approved. And that's kind of where we're at with it. I've asked NASCAR and didn't get much of a clarification. So I think they just want me to go see run either big tracks and trucks or go run some short tracks in an O'Reilly Series car and kind of go from there.
Yeah, NASCAR has also changed the approval process since last year, and it has also trickled down to ARCA, like in ways. Why, I don't know, but it is something that has happened since last year. So that's just something that has kind of come up, and we'll see what ends up coming out of it going forward. Now, I know there was one race that you were supposed to run this year that you ended up skipping, which was Lime Rock Park. Can you explain maybe why that ended up not happening?
I mean, it just basically kind of comes down to where I started the show with, we really want to have a standard of competitiveness. I think every time we go to the racetrack, and with Wayne, we don't have a dedicated short track car. Last year, I think we were kind of once again like the best car in the dog pound. I was really excited to go back to Lime Rock, and we had a sponsor committed to Lime Rock for the full car pretty much. And then like the week of the race, the sponsor, their headquarters were hit by a tornado out there, and
Oh,
so they kind of had to like back out. Um, and without that primary sponsor, it kind of made it hard to justify making that haul, making that trip. To Because I mean, I could have still driven for Wayne, and Wayne gave me an opportunity, but it would have been running used tires. It was kind of taking whatever car we had and just trying to make the most of it. Which, like I said, I have, believe it or not, I do have a little bit of a standard. I try to have on racing, as far as competitiveness.
yeah, I totally believe it, knowing you, Brayton. I mean, you're one of the hardest working drivers and out in racing. And I know outside of ARCA, throughout this year, you've still run like some dirt, I think, and some, I think, figure eight stuff.
I haven't had any figure eight stuff. I have like a little a four cylinder, actually 6 cylinder mini stock that I've been racing locally. I've raced it about 5 or 6 times, I think, here in Indy. So got and also took one down to Brownstown on the dirt. So I'm getting a race pretty much every weekend if I can. At least that's what I'd like to be doing. So like for example, this week I'm racing the ARCA race Friday night. I'm hauling back to Indy after the ARCA race. I'm racing my little 6 cylinder Saturday night. So that's try to race as much as I can because I like racing.
Yeah, and I mean, guys like that are what makes the sport so special. And just to kind of piggyback and go on to Iowa, when it comes to running Iowa again, like what exactly is one of the biggest goals, considering that it's I know that you said that this race is mostly a shakedown, but like what exactly are you trying to get out of like the competitive side?
It's a 33 car field. It's my first time driving for Clubb in one of his cars. I don't think it's a terrible car. I'd like to be top 20 at the end of the day. Say, hey, we beat 13 cars, either it's through pace or attrition or just kind of survival of the fittest. So, obviously that's the goal. Most importantly, they'll bring the car home in one piece. If I'm running 21st and this guy in front of me 20th, I'm not gonna go move him or her out of the way just to tear up my race car up for one spot. So at the end of the day, I try to bring the car in one piece because I think that kind of leads to more opportunities down the road.
Yeah, so that'll be an interesting watch at Iowa. And there was one more question that I had. I just gotta get it off the top of my head again. But this is Alex Clubb's 100th race in the ARCA Menards Series, and you get to have the honor of being one of his two teammates as part of that. Like talk a little bit about like kind of being part of that, like and just how like does it make things more special to be racing alongside him?
I mean, a little bit. I saw that. I never really put it. I never really think of it. I'm coming up on 50 starts probably next year. I never thought I'd be. I never thought I'd get to do one start, let alone five, let alone 10, let alone 20, let alone 40. But now I'm within 10 starts of 50. I'm sure Alex is kind of in the same boat. He never thought he'd make that first start, and he got an opportunity to go and do his own thing, and he's made it. A lot of people I think would sell a kidney if they got to drive an ARC car for a day. And so that's really cool. It kind of shows his grit and blood and determination, and it shows how much he's willing to sacrifice to try and go out here and get the job done.
Yeah, so a very special weekend for to be racing part of as you're with the man who is making his 100th start, and you get to be a part of that as his teammate. So thank you all for watching this pit stop. You will see more coming as well throughout the rest of the week and next week. We will have another guest on for another pit stop again this week, and we'll have another guest on for the main episode after Iowa. So thank you guys all for watching. Again, good luck to you on Friday, Brayton, and
Thank you.
we'll see you guys all in the next episode soon.
Appreciate it. Bye.